Hi, everyone. My name is Andres Tejada. I am the CEO and founder of TAPN Company. Thank you for taking the time to walk through my money tree. Today, we're just going to go through a quick overview of how the product is used. I went ahead and put together everything in an example so we can sort of walk through. But of course, once you go through it, it'll be your numbers and your information. So, in the first step, you just basically put what your financial goal is and what that estimated cost is, your name and your year. One thing that's important about this spreadsheet is that it is automated. So anything that is a green box is where you will manually put in the information. This is step 2, which is just entering your income. In this example, I just took an individual that's making about $65,000 a year gross, but down here you'll want to put your net income. So this is after your deductions like health insurance or anything else that you have, and like federal taxes, state taxes. And it's basically the number that you see on your check when you get your direct deposit every time you get paid. And up here, it just basically sums up what you get monthly, net income, and your yearly net income. Step 3, this is where you'll enter in all your expenses. And in this section, it kind of categorizes home, food, childcare, debt obligations. And this usually takes a little while to put together because a lot of people don't know the cost off the top of their head. So you'll want to enter in the monthly cost for each of these things. And just for an example, it could be rent, like a streaming service like a Netflix, your cell phone, utilities. So you can see here that in this example, we've just put in some numbers that are typical. And like the income tab, it actually totals what your total monthly expenses are going to be. And then it also shows you your total yearly expenses. And step 4, this is where the cool part happens, where this all happens automatically. It compares what you're making monthly, and then it takes what you're spending monthly, and it shows you what that leftover balance is. And this is where the spreadsheet shines because it shows you what the recommended plan breakout based on your numbers. For this tool, you'll see that 60% of what you make should go to your expenses, 15% should be saved, 15% should be invested, and 10% is your guilt-free spending. And when you apply it to the numbers of this individual's income, you'll see that it does the breakout for you. So 2,400 is for his expenses, 600 is saved, 600 is for investments, and 400 is guilt-free spending. So the idea is you want to assign a home to every dollar that you make, and this basically does it for you. And then if you go to step 5, this shows you what you'll actually be doing. So in here, it shows you your recommended breakout and then what you're actually going to be doing. So these numbers are all like customizable. So when you get it, it'll be 0 like this. And what you want to do is have a balanced system. So if $2,362 is going to your actual expenses, you'll want to figure out what you want to save, what you want to invest, and what you feel comfortable being your flexible number. And these numbers up here basically serve as your base. And you'll want to put in numbers that you actually want to do. So in this case, this individual wants to save $712, which is a little bit over the recommended, but that's because they're spending less here in their flexible spending. So they actually have money to have $400 in flexible spending, but they only really want to spend $250, which might be the case for most people. Most people want to save and invest more than spend money. And that's sort of the idea of making a spreadsheet like this and completing one. And down here, there's some more insights of what you could potentially save in a year, 3 years. And again, this is all your numbers. And then once that's filled in, you'll see that it'll bring you down to a 0 balance. So now every dollar that you make has been assigned into a certain bucket. So now you've got your expenses, your savings, investing, and flexible spending. So every dollar is now assigned, which that's why this is 0. Now, if you go to step 6, you'll see that if you were to invest in the S&P 500, which is basically like the stock market in a low risk index fund, you can expect to get a 10% nominal return just based on historical data over the past 100 years. And this basically shows you what that balance would accumulate to if you were to consistently contribute. The big thing with investing is that you get compound interest earnings. And if you don't know what that is, I highly recommend that you really learn about investing before you do any of this. Is just an example to show you what you could potentially have at the 30-year mark following the plan that you create with this spreadsheet. So in 30 years, this individual could have 1.4, $1.5 million. In step 7, this shows you the type of accounts you'll want to create. Off to the right here, there's some notes on how to set this up, and typically these become your transfers from your income account into all of these other accounts. Step 8 is a net worth tracker. You'll want to enter your age, and it'll actually give you the median household net worth by age. So for a 26-year-old like this individual, it's 21,450. And what that means is 50% of people in this country have less than that, and 50% of people have more than that. You don't necessarily have to use this as a comparison to yourself because everybody obviously starts in different places in life, but it just shows you where you stand, and it can potentially motivate you to obviously get to a higher number. To get your net worth, you'll want to scroll down and put all your assets. So, how much money you have in your checkings, your savings, if you have any investment accounts, properties, the market value. You'll want to then list out your liabilities. In this case, this individual has car loans, student loans. And if you scroll back up, it sort of takes your total assets, your total liabilities, and it gives you a net worth. And this individual has a negative net worth, and that's pretty common for most people who are younger because they go to school and they take out student loans, or they maybe get help from parents, or they have more debt. But as your life goes on, that debt should be reduced. Last step here is just sort of a financial overview that takes all the data that you put into and summarize it in a nice clean format. This section, we get a lot of questions about, how much do I need to invest to retire comfortably? And everybody's lifestyle is different, so it's always going to be different. But what's cool about this spreadsheet is that it actually tells you to retire comfortably based on this current person's lifestyle, you'll need to have invested $708,000. And one thing that's really cool about this is that it shows you the minimum gross salary required to maintain your current lifestyle. So a lot of people, once they fill this out, you realize with all your expenses, you're actually living way above your means. And this just shows you that, hey, the current lifestyle that you live, you have to at least make $63,000. And why the numbers work so well for this individual is because he makes $65,000. So he just made the cutoff for the minimum. But if you find out that after you put your expenses in and $100,000 lifestyle, but you're only making $65,000, that's probably why that a lot of your finances month to month feel tight. But yeah, I hope that this was super helpful. I know we just wanted to do a quick run through, but if you have any questions at all, please feel free to leave it in the comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible.